What the fuck were you thinking, stupid Deku? Katsuki trudged beside Deku, snow up to their booted ankles. Katsuki's special gloves squeaking as he clenched his fists around his backpack straps. Are you actually brain dead? Who the hell needs to know about that crap but us? Deku scrunched his face up in that insolent look he always got around Katsuki. Todoroki is one of my best friends, Deku said, the whiny bastard. And forgive me if I'm a little happy right now and I want to share it with someone. Katsuki bristled against the warm little thump in his chest. Don't make me puke. What's wrong with it? He'll acclimate once he gets his head around the idea. It's not something for him to know, Katsuki said between clenched teeth as a sharp spray of wind and snow cut at their faces. Noting the main portion of the students and teachers had traveled further and further away from them, Katsuki let his guard down a fraction. Their group was barely in sight now. No one would be able to hear them now. Or anyone, Katsuki said, throwing a blazing look of accusation towards a stubbornly silent Deku. There's nothing to tell, for fuck's sake. Nothing to tell about the past 9 months? Deku said, glancing over with a superior look Katsuki would love to blast right off of his face. You can't just go around spouting bullshit whenever your pansy ass fucking feels like it. Deku stopped dead and turned to face him, his shoulders and feet squared, eyes an unwavering deep forest of emotions Katsuki just didn't get. You might have been the leader for half of my life, Kachan, but that doesn't fly anymore. I can talk to who I want. I don't care who you fucking talk to, you numbskull. Katsuki screeched in frustration, whirling around, his hands flying as he raved. I don't care. Why would I care? What I care about is this ain't your business, you dumb fuck. It's our business, and my business. Then you don't get to just go opening your gigantic cock-sucking mouth whenever you catch a fucking feel. Deku gaped, recovering quickly. He gritted his teeth in his own snarl that only seemed reserved for villains and Kachan over the years. My friends are my friends, and I'll confide to them when I please, Kachan. If you've got a problem with that, you can suck my dick. What do you have to confide? Kachan said with a harsh laugh, dragging his feet through the thick, wet snow, stopping only to shove his nose in Deku's face and jam a finger hard against his chest. We're fucking. Big whoop. Half the class is probably boning each other, but you don't hear about it, do you? Because some of them actually have brains. You? I don't know what your problem is. Mr. Feelings over here has to share with the entire class like my dick is your show and tell toy. I only told one person. My business isn't yours to tell, Katsuki said with a roar, pushing Deku with both hands and knocking him back into the snow, the backpack leaving Deku rolling like an awkward turtle. With a grunt, Katsuki yanked him up by the collar, their gazes clashing like a wildfire coming up against a sturdy, defiant cliffside. It's just nice for someone to know we're together, Deku said quietly, his voice shaking despite his obstinate expression. Katsuki blinked, startled. He released Deku but didn't move, the white plumes of their heaving breath rising between them like smoke from a flame. What? Katsuki said with a disbelieving laugh, his heart jackhammered painfully against his ribs. If he could break his hand through his chest, rip it out, and leave it stranded in the snow, he would. Thinking that far in the future, Katsuki took a lot of risks, but none of them would revolve around something that, unbelievable, incomprehensible. It would never happen. Heroes didn't get to end up with other heroes. That's how they ended up with a weak spot. That's how they ended up dead. We're not together, Deku. For a split second, Katsuki's cutting grin falters as he watched Deku's entire face fall. Wait, Katsuki said, reaching out a hand, and the weight of a car flung Katsuki forward like a rag doll, his body crashing into Deku's with the force took the breath from his screaming lungs. Their heads cracked together as they sailed through the air, Deku's back impacting with a thick pine, Katsuki collapsing on top of him in the snow. Katsuki shot up, gaze searching Deku's face, covered in blood, unconscious. He whirled, throwing his backpack to the side, hands already aflame, his bellowing war cry shaking the snow from the branches above. "Who the fuck?" "Sorry to interrupt your little tiff," the man said, standing a good distance away in the main path from where Katsuki and Deku had been launched. He was unnaturally tall and skeletal, flimsy like a scarecrow, with hair long, stringy, the color of gray slush, and a smile like a shark. The thin, black ski suit he wore only reached just past his bulbous, swollen knees and elbows. He reminded Katsuki of a praying mantis, like he'd blown away in the wind. But for the hands. Hunched over, the villain's knobbly spine was rounded and curved from the weight of his hands. His palms were 3 times the size of dinner plates, thick and meaty. The fingers long and fat, coated in thick layers of pale scarring. Katsuki's smile was slow, deadly. His stance widened, palms sparking. "Come and try me, buddy. I've had a real fucking bad day so far. You're about to make it better." "You're at the top of your class, yeah?" the man said conversationally, his smile unflinching as he took his steps closer. His hands dragged thick trenches in his wake. "Explodey boy, and the one behind you, he's third. Lucky me." "You're boring the shit out of me," Katsuki said, conscious of needing to shift the fight away from Deku's prone form. From that collision with the tree, he could have easily broken some part of his back. There was no way to know until Katsuki finished this. "Let's go." Katsuki rocketed up, ricocheted off a treetop, flipped and dove down, blazing palms first, the light expanding, blinding as he aimed right for the head. A deafening clap resounded through the forest, the resulting boom trembling the earth. Pain. He choked, eyes wide, bloodshot, a searing burn shrieking up his arms. Agony overwhelmed every sense, surging from his hands in nauseous waves as Katsuki blinked up in horror. He hung from the villain's slap-shut hands by his own hands, dangling mid-air by bones he knew were flattened, shattered between those monstrous palms. His lungs wouldn't release, shocked into stillness. He could feel the torment his body took claiming to his conscience. "Let him go!" Katsuki coughed, sucking in a burning breath, and whipped his head around just as he toppled into the snow. He looked down at the limp flesh on his lap, mute, blank, unable to process the lumpy masses he didn't recognize. "Oh," the villain said, amusement in his voice as he dropped his hands to the snow with a resounding thud. His eyes were small, black, and beady on Deku. "Look at you, getting up so fast. Cute." Katsuki gritted his teeth, his heart crawling up his throat. "You fucking idiot, run!" Katsuki screamed, his voice hoarse. "Get the others!" Deku wouldn't even look at him. He was glancing between the villain and the towering mountain they'd climbed earlier in the distance. "What the fuck are you doing?" Deku locked in on Kacchan's furious, inflamed gaze, the harsh, icy winds ripping at his hair, blood streaking down his reopened head wound. "Saving you," he said softly. Deku ran. Katsuki could only gape as he watched Deku disappear in a streak of flying snow, clearly surging with his quirk. "Playing tag?" said the villain, giggling, licking his top teeth and smacking his thin, worn lips. "He's much more fun than you were. I'll be back." With that, he swung his spindly arms in front of him, pounded his hands to the ground, and raised his legs to swing them forward. Like some great emaciated gorilla, he used his knuckles in the snow to loft himself along, eating up a vast distance of ground with each swing of legs and arms. Burning with humiliation, Katsuki turned his head and wiped his running nose on his shoulder, blinking away the damp in his eyes that was no doubt caused by the slivers of snow and ice beating at his face than anything else. Gritting his teeth, Katsuki got to his feet, wavering as he stood. In the distance, he could make out the mountain, or a third of it. The other 2/3 plunging into the thick curtain of clouds. The distinct bass booms of the villain's travel grew more muffled, the ground quaking less as he made chase. Why would Deku lead him there, further away from help. Hissing with effort, Kotsky bit back in utterance of pain, refusing to further his shame, even alone. He wouldn't give that fucker the benefit. His hands might have been fucked beyond repair, but he had his feet, and he wasn't going to stand around here waiting for Deku to do all the work himself. Hands hanging loose at his sides, Kotsky inhaled deep and broke into a sprint, his eyes sharp on the goal. Geysers of snow and ice fired into the air. Faraway explosions that only left Kotsky guessing as he dashed through the snow ditch Deku's quirk-endowed feet had left behind. As the base of the mountain became clearer through the screaming wind, his eyes widened, his stride tripping up as he saw a small figure erratically shooting up the steep side of the mountain. Why? The last place Deku would perform well was up there. His quirk wasn't. My quirk isn't suitable for unstable ground. I'd accidentally break it. It would have been a danger not just all of you, but for me too. Kotsky screeched to a halt, still a good half-mile from the base of the mountain. He gawked as Deku's figure disappeared into the clouds, great rolls of hard snow tumbling in his wake. Slowly but surely, the villain followed, his own fist shaking the jagged terrain. Something gripped Kotsky's throat like a noose, his tongue thick in his mouth, his limbs frozen, mind stumbling, scattering. His heart went still, shivering with an emotion he couldn't recall, but for the first time since he'd been captured in the alleyway when no hero would approach him. Fear. Deku had jumped in then, the cocky little shit, and here he was, doing it again. For him. Deku planned to bury that fucking villain under an entire mountain and take himself along with it if he had to. Fuck. Kotsky said, breaking into a run. Stop saving me, you stupid fuck. Don't you... A sonic boom rippled down the mountain, deafening, popping his ears before the force of the erupting ground threw him off of his feet and sucked him into a chasm of ice and dirt. Tree trunks splintered and collapsed upon each other, and the entire forest crumpling in on itself. Boulders launched from the clouds, sailing through the sky, landing around him in a storm of rocks and debris. Using the leverage of his elbows, Kotsky pulled himself out of the split earth and stumbled to his feet, his knees set apart to keep from toppling with the literal earthquake shuddering the vicinity. Bakugou. Aizawa's voice. Bakugou, your hands. Todoroki. You need to get to the back of the group. Recovery girl will... Deku's up there, Kotsky said hollowly, unblinking. He couldn't look away as he watched entire house-side chunks of mountain begin to crumble to the ground, an avalanche of snow making right for them. Deku, Aizawa said, swearing under his breath. Get back now, with me, Mike, Todoroki, Ochako. I gotta get him. Kotsky ran towards the rubble and destruction, the wall of impending snow thundering towards him. Deku was still up there. Deku had done this. He'd done this to save him, to save everyone. The least Kotsky could do was... Bakugou, no! A wall of ice a quarter-mile high cut to the heavens, the dull thud of the avalanche halting, the only sound Kotsky could register. He whirled on Todoroki and, unable to use his shattered hands, lifted a foot and kicked him, full strength, square in the gut. Todoroki landed in snow, blood on his lips. Kotsky jumped, stamped a foot down on Todoroki's prone chest, and leaned his weight down as he snarled in Todoroki's clenched features. What the fuck are you doing? He's back there. He's on the other side. I gotta get him, stupid piece of shit. If he dies, you'll be fucking buried next to him. I swear to everything, I'll fucking... Recovery girl was at his side in a split second, jamming something in his arm. The world went black from there, but Kotsky did not sleep soundly. He crawled only through night terrors.